Hey, I'm Cesaros, and in this podcast, we talk about tech. Let's remember that Cesaros is an independent project where we talk with people behind digital products. And if you like this type of content, if you like this type of interviews, please subscribe to the channel. Please follow us, follow the podcast on Spotify. And we are in Instagram as Cesaros. And we don't use Twitter anymore. Today, this is super special because this is my first interview in English, so I am a little nervous with all of this, but I am with a very good friend, a person with I was working for the last year. We work super great together, I think. She is a product manager and one of the best product managers I've known. So, yeah, I invite her. We usually have very good conversations, so this is our first recorded conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Caro. What are you doing these days?
Thank you, Cesar. Thank you for having me. I'm also very nervous, but let's see how can we do that? Like you said, I've been working as a product manager for over 4 years now. I'm Brazilian, but I have moved to Madrid for almost 1 year now. And yeah, I was also very happy with the chance of working with you, and I also enjoyed our time working together very much.
And how's Madrid going? How's Madrid treating you?
Well, right now, August, very, very hot. I was not expecting that. The summer is really being hard. I've never used so much air conditioner before, but I'm loving the city. Like, it's a very different city. In Brazil, I was not living in Rio or São Paulo. I was living in a little bit smaller city, so for me it's a big change. But I'm loving a lot. I love all the recommendations of places that you send me, also restaurants, places to eat. So yeah, I'm loving Madrid. What about you? Because you also have you moved here, right?
Yeah, 2 years now. I have pending an episode talking about that, but for me, it's the same. Like, it's crazy because we live in tropical countries. We used to live in tropical countries, so we are not. I am not used to that much change in the weather. So a lot of air conditioning. But I love the city. I love big cities.
Yeah.
And the food. Yeah, when you find the right place is the right Italian place, you know.
Yeah. And also the blue sky, I think it is a very big plus of the city because it's a blue sky for the entire year. So that's amazing. Yeah.
But I miss the mountains, you know? Like the big Indian mountains, I miss them.
Yeah.
Caro, obviously you've been working as a product manager for the last years, but I want to know, like, from you, what do you feel what do you think is the product manager work? What a product manager does in a company?
Yeah, so lots of things, but I think mainly the product manager is the responsible for really managing the product and considering the entire life cycle of the product. So from conception, ideation, from managing the developing, and that's the part that you engineers are also taking a lot of active participation, and we can talk more about this as well. And also launching, also iterating. So I think the product manager is really the responsible for guaranteeing that the product will succeed, and also to build the product vision, the strategy, where do we see this vision, where do we see this product in the future, and also just really making sure that the product is aligned and it's meeting the customer needs and it's also meeting the business goals. A little bit like product management in a nutshell.
Very textbook answer.
Thank you, I don't know.
But is it different to the product owner?
It is different. That's a controversial point, but from what I've seen and I've studied so far, I see the product owner being very related to Scrum and Agile methodology. So it is a role that exists in this context, while the PM can exist in multiple and various types of industries and companies. and
Mm.
methodologies. And at the same time, the PO is more responsible for refining the backlog, making sure that the team is going in a good rhythm, making sure it's being efficient, um, and it's really more focused on the execution. So it's more tactical. While the PM, the bigger focus, is a more broader role. So we have this focus on the strategy, we have this focus on the long term, also communicating more with the stakeholders and managing everything. So I think that this is the main difference. And I also think that POs and PMs can coexist. There could be a company that there is a PO and there is a PM working together because they could be focusing on these different things. PO more focused on tactical and execution, and the PM more focused on the bigger picture, strategy, and all that.
So basically, it's a really holistic role in a company. Yeah, you have to get to know the product. You have to like, okay, what's working, what's not working, but
Yeah.
it's not like, yeah, it's me a question like, should you work like very tight with the developers at this point, or because for me it sounds like a very managerial role, you know, like you think in the strategy, you think, okay, this is going to work, this is not going to work, but at some point someone has to like get this strategy and put it in like actionable
Yeah.
uh, steps.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually think that the PM shouldn't be doing anything completely by itself. Because I really think that for all the steps, for all this life cycle of the product, the PMs should be involving the rest of the team. So the designer, I think, is someone that really walks really closely together with the PM and really works together, but also the engineers. And I think sometimes many PMs take for granted the relationship with the engineers and are not really making sure that the engineers are having this active role and being this active participation in the discovery phase, because like you were saying, we tend to think that okay, engineers do the developing, you know, that they do the coding, they do the hands-on and all that, and they don't really participate on the strategy or on the discovery side. But I don't like working with that conception. I really appreciate when we can have engineers working closely with the PMs and having this active voice, because I think engineers bring a very different perspective than the PM and the designer. So I'm all for that, like having engineers participating as much as they want in all these phases that are not just developing and launching a new feature.
And that's what one of the things that I enjoy working with you. Like, I think we have like these good conversations on, okay, how can we improve the product so we can like find the good communications and the good involvement from engineering to like have a good overview of the strategy that we want to implement. I am all with you in this. Like the engineers sometimes, and sometimes we engineers also feel like, okay, no, let just say what you want us to build, and we will do it. But
Yeah,
after that, we will say like, no, but you didn't have us in account.
yeah,
We have to plan this better. So
yeah.
yeah, I think this closely relationship that you talk about is very clear, and yeah, you are guiding the strategy, and you need like the rest of the technical people to be there, like supporting the role.
Yeah, because I also think that when you receive something and it's like, yeah, you do it and you don't know really why are we doing, like why are we building this feature? How is this aligned with what our users want? How is this aligned with the goals that our company has? So I think like making sure that the engineers are participating on the strategy side and are really understanding what's the purpose of the product and how can each one of us really make a difference and help the users get their issues resolved, or I don't know, maybe help the company achieve results, because everyone plays a super important part on this, and it's not only the product manager. The product manager can be the person that is mostly communicating directly with the senior leadership or with other teams, but that doesn't mean that the work is only ours. I really make sure like uh, this is something very important for me. Like whenever I'm communicating anything, I always make sure that I let everyone know who is involved in this because, like I said, I don't think the PM does anything by themselves. I think it's a very teamwork, and I think all PMs should have this kind of concern. Also, this understanding of, because like you were saying, it's not all engineers that are super interested in getting a deeper look into the product, into the metrics, and all that. But I think it's the responsibility of the PM to help build this bridge between product and the engineers, like the product quiz that we had.
That product quiz was. Uh, I think I deserve more in that product quiz.
No, you did not. You were not very good
But
participant.
let's talk about this dynamic that we did. What was the goal? Let's try to explain to the listeners that what was the goal of this strategy and why you implemented this in our team.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna ask you, what do you think it was the goal? What do you think it was the purpose?
Uh, I mean, I am the interviewer. I think you wanted us to be more involved on what was the goal of the product. I think there are different strategies to do this, and it was the second time I saw a product person very concerned about the engineers to know why we are doing things. So in a previous team I work with, we used to all the tasks has the business overview of the task. So everyone was involved. Okay, this is why we are doing this. And I think with the quiz we were trying to solve the same thingy. To basically say, okay, these are the important things of the product that we have to measure,
Yeah.
and us as engineers need to take this in account when we are developing. And what that does that mean is it's regardless to each team. You as a team, you have to say, okay, but this is going to affect this metric or this other metric, or if we implement these. I mean, it's a thing not to let only the PMs take that decision. Engineering has a voice too, and if all engineers has the same are in the same page, I think we can work much better, more smoothly.
Yeah.
But I want to listen your
Well,
answer.
yeah. But you explained it perfectly. But yeah, I think what I was trying to do was um, making sure that the engineers were on the same page, and not only engineers, but the whole team was entirely aligned and in the same page, and really understanding, okay, that's our product. What do we want to do with that? What's the goal that we have for the next 6 months? How do we think we can help the company? How are we helping the users while we're doing that? And I was also thinking about like how can I bring all this content in a way that for the engineers is gonna be interesting enough, and they're really gonna be active about it. And well, I already was working with the team for a while when we did that, and we were already playing some board games together. So I knew that the team had this kind of everyone enjoyed having games and board games. So I was like, yeah, let's do a product quiz and let's see how it goes. So what I tried to do was kind of bring some questions about the product, about the metrics, about where can we find this kind of metrics, because that's also what I wanted to do, like not only bring the content, but making sure that after the quiz, everyone would be able to know where they have to go to see the metrics, see the mission, see the vision, and all that. I was even trying to explain a little bit of like product methodologies, ideas, like how do they work, and make you guys really start thinking about it, because I think this is really important, like having engineers thinking as a product manager and a product manager thinking as an engineer, not in the way like I'm gonna develop new stuff and I'm gonna code. I'm not gonna do that, but yeah, I think this change of perspective, I think it's super important. So I thought that the quiz could be a good way to help us start this conversation in the team in a way that the team will be engaged enough. And I think it was successful.
Yeah, for me it was more successful than just a presentation. about the what are the important metrics and how product works.
Yeah, yeah. I knew that was not going to be interesting for the engineers. So I
Let's
had
build
to
a Notion page
improvise.
about it.
Yeah, no Notion page. Yeah.
I
And
want,
I think,
I want, no, go ahead.
no, sorry, I was just going to say that I think it was very special that we were able to be all in the same room because, I mean, like online, this also can be done, but being in the same room, having this energy, like using the board to count the score and all that, I think all that made it more interesting and more dynamic. Putting the answers in the middle of the table, everyone is screaming, and yeah, so I think it made it more fun as well.
Yeah. This type of dynamics always work better when we are all together.
Yeah.
But I want to pinpoint in one thing that you said, and it was that sometimes PMs have to think about a little bit more about the same as engineers, the same thing that we are trying engineers to do the same for PMs. Do you think you need a lot of technical abilities to be a PM, at least in tech industry?
Yeah, okay, so that's a tricky question because, well, product managers, there is no college that forms people on product management. So most of the product managers that I know, they had previous careers before they became a product manager, and they had this migration. And a consequence of this is that we have product managers with many different backgrounds and different contexts. So we have the product managers that actually come from a technical perspective and were engineers before, and they are commonly named as technical product manager. But we also have these other kinds of specialist product managers. We have platform product manager, data product manager, product marketing manager that is kind of not entirely a product manager, but also a part of this. We have growth product manager, and we also have generalist product manager. And talking about myself, I graduated on business. So I was definitely starting my career in product as a generalist. And for me, that was actually very good because I was able to explore different things throughout these 4 years. So I've worked with B2B, B2C, SaaS, mobile, user experience, support experience, and that really opened my eyes for many possibilities that we have inside the product management. And for example, something that I didn't know I liked so much was data. And after I became a product manager, I was like, yes, I like data, and I think that I have been developing on this, but doesn't mean that I'll become a data product manager. It's just something that it is a skill that I identify the most and I have more interest about. All this to say, for the technical side, I don't think it's for everyone to have all this great knowledge about technical, but I do think it's very important for the PMs to be able to join the conversation with the engineers. Because basically what we have is, basically, let's put like on quotes, the product manager would be the one saying where we want to go. So what's the vision, what's the strategy, and then the engineers would come and say, okay, that's how we can go there. And you're coming in this really developing part and talking about how can we build this, how can we get there. And I think it's really important for the PM to be able to have also an active voice on deciding how we're going to get there. And if the PM is not super familiar with the technical terms that the product is requiring, it's gonna be hard for him or her to challenge engineers or to fully understand the direction that engineers are deciding to go. And I'm not saying this because PMs shouldn't trust engineers. I trust 100%, but I think it's a healthy conversation to have people challenging what the others are saying. So I really think, and I also think that as more senior the PM gets, more important it is for her to have more of this technical side and technical perspective. I don't know. Do you agree?
I don't know. I really don't know because that was really a question that I have prior to this to this interview. Because for me, the PM role had to know. I am discovering various things in this conversation because for me the PM role had to create the tasks and be very technically involved with the team. Yeah, and your perspective is super. It clears my mind on what's the role and what are the necessities, what are the requirements for the role, the required skills. And I want to pinpoint a thing. If you get to this part of the episode, we are going to talk about a new consultation process that Caro is launching to become a PM. So if you are interested in that, please stay until the end of the episode. Caro, but do you think? So, what do you think? I don't want to say better, but you prefer like the generalist role or the specialized one?
Yeah, that's also a tricky question because I think it really depends. Especially, for example, let's say you are starting a career. If you already have enough knowledge for one of the specialists' hierarchy or something like that, it might be more interesting for you to start already being specialized. But at the same time, we have more offerings of generalist roles. And in my case, since I was not a specialist in anything, for me it was very good to have this generalist and just be able to see everything, go to different products and really understand what's the type of product that I enjoy working with. Because also in my path, I understood that I'm a really big fan of consumer-facing products, and I'm not very fan of technical products. So the product that you are developing and it's not going to get to the final user and you're not going to see their reaction and you're not going to see like how can we improve this for her, how can we see if this is really solving her problem. Like I think that's what really drives me in the product management career. So I think being a generalist, I was also able to understand, okay, what I like to do, because I experienced lots of teams, lots of different products, and I have the ones that are closer to my heart, the ones that I felt more excited about. But also just one thing, Cesar, that you were talking about, that you had this idea that the PM should be well connected to like refining tasks and be very tactical in that meaning. This is also a little bit, I don't know if you've probably seen that on Airbnb, the PMs are becoming
Yeah.
PMMs.
Yeah. What is a PMM?
Yeah, so the PMM is a product marketing manager, and it is a product manager that is more focused on building the go-to-market strategy. So how is the product going to be positioned in the market? How is it going to be, what's the message that the product is going to send to the users and all that. So it's more about the launching experience. And what I've read about this, because it was a controversial situation, very new in the tech
I wanted
community.
to ask about it.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm understanding, in my humble opinion, that might be wrong as well, is that what they wanted to do with that was really showing that the PMs should be more focused on the strategy side and not be super focused on the execution side and on the day-to-day of the team, because it's not so many times that we can have one PM per team, or for example, let's say one PM are managing 10 different engineers. It's going to be impossible for this one PM to take care of this strategy side, this vision side that is very important, and also take care of refining every single task that is going through all the sprint and the planning and having this super close approach with the engineers. So I see it in that meaning, like it's not saying that product manager is not important on Airbnb. I think they're just trying to say that they wanted the PMs to let go a little bit of the technical and testable side and have this broader approach and more strategical approach to the products that they are managing.
Yeah, because
What's your opinion?
What you just described in the beginning of the episode was very strategical, and for me, this type of strategical roles, I think, doesn't have to be involved in the day-to-day of the team, because we can have these discussions async or just with a part of the team or things like that. But at the end, I think we are, at least in tech industries, we are just discovering how our organizations work, Like other organizations, I don't know, pharmaceutical, car companies, this type of companies, they already know how mainly how their business work, but we are just discovering this century. Okay,
Yeah.
what are the roles that matters, and what are the real positions for those roles? And I think because the headline with the Airbnb thingy was like they are removing the PM role, and you
Yeah.
just tell me otherwise. And for me, this has much more sense, and it brings clarity to this discussion. And with everything in the internet, we stop in the headline and
Yeah.
don't talk more about it.
Yeah.
I'm all with that approach. I actually like it because it's a strategic role, and I want to talk about the day-to-day work of a product manager. What do you do to achieve these strategies?
Okay, so I think that's something you were also saying about um, like how PMs can wait. Let's pause here. Let's pause in your question.
Strategic pause.
Strategic pause, because I forgot what I was going to say that you said. Wait, because I said like it was about. Oh, okay, I remember. Okay, the question it was the day to day. Okay, coming back. Okay, so I think for the day to day, I think that's also a challenging question to ask because I think different companies, different industries, different products, they require different activities. And also, I think that's the beauty of product because it's never a dull job. It's always very dynamic. Everything is changing all the time, not only for PMs, but engineers as well. And like you were saying before, that sometimes like one company has already figured it out and the other hasn't. I think that's okay because I don't think there is one magic secret rule and a secret way for a product manager or for engineers. I think every team is responsible for understanding what works better for them and on their day to day and what are they needing most. So, for example, for our team, when we had the product quiz, my understanding is that we needed the engineers to be closer to product, to be closer to metrics, to be closer to what's going on, you know? So that's something that we felt like, okay, this could be a good time to focus more on this kind of activities. But in a overall, I think the day to day, so like I was saying, since the PMs are responsible for building this vision, building this strategy, the strategy is gonna tell us how can we achieve this vision. And behind that, we always have to have one North Star metric so we can really understand like, okay, what does success look like? And how can we know if we are getting closer to that? And that's what metrics bring to you. We're more able to see like, okay, how are we progressing? Are we in the rhythm that we expected? Or is anything going the other way? Because then we have to check what's going on and iterate maybe. But I would say that my days normally start checking the metrics, checking how everything is performing. So not only the key results, the KRs that we have on a long term, also the North Star, also the features that we recently launched, like how is it going? Because it's always so important to catch things right when they start going wrong, you know, that saying of fail fast so you can learn fast and evolve. So I think that's something super important, checking the metrics. Yeah, so there's a lot of understanding how the team is going as well, and that would be more on the technical side. We have all the meetings, the rituals that you are super aware of because you participate in all of them. So we have the rituals to help the whole team make sure we are on the same page, we are aligned. So we have the plannings for the sprints of normally 2 weeks, but that also depends on the product. We have the retros to discuss with the whole team after the sprint is done. How did we do? How are we feeling? And that's really the moment to say like, okay, this could be maybe working better than what happened, and maybe that was something that we could work on. But that's also a very important time to celebrate what we achieved. So like, okay, yes, we have this new thing being launched, or we were able to fix a problem, and really making sure the whole team is feeling valuable. And yeah, so we have the dailies as well that also are not dailies currently. but we have like a few meetings per week to say like, okay, what's the update? What's happening? And besides that, I think it's also responsibility of the PM to make sure all the stakeholders inside the company is really aligned with everything that we are doing, and to make sure that they are also participating actively on the discovery phase and ideation and bringing their perspective. And also for the PM, it's very, very important for them to be super close to the user and the user needs. And some people tend to think that the designer is the only owner for this, like the designer should be the ones bringing the user perspective and what's going on with the user side. But I don't see it that way. I think it's a very a work that the designer and the PM should be really working together, because I think it's really, really important for the PM to be super close to the users as well, because they are representing the user. We have to make sure that the product is going to a place that is meeting the user needs and making sure that they're having their issues resolved, or that we are providing a better experience for them. So it's very crucial to be super close to the user needs.
In your opinion, how is relationship there between product management and product design? Where is the limit between the functions of the two?
Yeah. So for me, in all my main of my experiences, I was working super closely with the designer, and when things are going like this, I think that's the best experience for the product as well. Having just like this unified force between the PM and the designer is super, super important for the product. And yeah, so I really think that there are some things that will be responsibility of the PM or the designer at the end of the day. But I really do think that the PM and the designer have to have this clear communication with the whole, all of the things that they are doing. So it doesn't really work like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and after I'm done, I'm gonna show you. I don't like that approach, because it really kind of diminishes what the other person could bring and could collaborate, because they are formed with different skills, the PM and the designer. So they are very complementary, very, very complementary. So I think that when we are able to work together, have this trust, have this transparency in the process, I think like it's a win-win for everyone, including the product. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. And at the end, because I think it's a matter of collaboration always in a company, and yeah, I don't think, and I thought we already passed that part in our industry where, okay, no, this is the thingy, and you go from there. That's not the best way to build a product, and we already learned that with our past experiences, and I am totally agree with you in that part. I in the other part, I don't know, maybe sometimes designers are super like they want to be protective of their work, like, okay, no, I investigated this, and this is the thing
but
that I want to.
that's different. That's different, because I agree that everyone should be able to have an individual moment, because everyone can be a little bit more productive when they are focusing on one thing and doing things by themselves. What I was trying to say is that I don't think it's healthy for someone to finish the entire process of what they're doing and then show it. But
Yeah.
if you're doing like, oh, okay, I got this new thing, I want to show it to you and see how you think about this, how you feel about this. I think that's the important part, like the exchange of information and this communication while you are working on this. You could be working individually and separately, but always sharing, okay, that's what I did today, or I did this week, and having this really close relationship and constant alignment, because I think it's also very much harder to have feelings and have opinions on something that is already completely done, because you're like, okay, but I wanted to talk about something that is super on the beginning, but I don't know if I should, because now it's already everything completed, so that can be a little bit frustrating sometimes when that happens for both ways.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I insisted so much in the refinement process in our team, because it's the same for engineering. Like, obviously we like to, okay, no, I just want to develop this, please don't call me, don't write me in Slack. But yeah, we have to like solve so many questions before, and
Yeah.
sometimes the solutions that we are trying to develop do not meet the user needs, or it's not clear what's the business goal with this. So that's why I was super specific. Let's try to refine. Let's refine. Let's refine. Let's refine. Let's ask the
Yeah.
questions before, because with that you have the information and you can have the discussions with product. Now you're maybe let's try this or
Yeah.
that. And I want to take this opportunity to talk about the metrics that you work with, because you work with so many metrics all the time. There was like, okay, CSR and I don't know, I forget it already. I forget them already.
It's okay, it's okay. No, yeah, but I think every type of product has different needs of metrics as well. So,
Hmm.
like, we have metrics that are more specific to a SaaS environment, like churn, LTV, and all this stuff. So the PM needs to understand what are the metrics for the market that they are acting on. And we were also taking care of the support experience, so we had also metrics specific to the support experience, and are really more focused maybe on the growth side. So how can we retain a user? How can we make sure they are satisfied with what we are offering and all that? But I think you just have to understand, like, it can be lots of metrics, but I think you have to be able to separate them. So like this is to show how the feature is performing. So that's our definition of success. That's how we're going to check the performance of the feature. This is one kind of metrics. But then we also have, like I was saying, the North Star of the strategy. So that's something that we also have to keep in mind and to see if we are being able to get closer. We also have the key results, and that can depend if it's for a quarter or the whole year. That also will depend on how the product structure for each company is structured. So yeah, you have these different types of metrics, but at the end of the day, they are all just trying to talk about how healthy is your product. How is your product doing? Are we going into the right direction? And that will depend if it's in a more high level approach, like North Star or key result, or low level of, okay, how this feature is helping us get there. How is this feature performing? And both of these things should have the attention of the PM and the whole team, you know?
And with that metrics, obviously, you start to think about the experiments that you want to implement with the product. Like, try to find what are the important points of the user, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's super important part. I'm a big fan of having experiments, running A/B tests, because I think that's a very, very good way to. So the A/B test, for example, is a very good way to extract all the external factors or anything that could influence on the results, and you can really get the results of this feature that you are testing. So you have this the control scenario and the test environment, and I think that's very beneficial because it's very clear. You have the numbers. If you know how to read the numbers and you have this information, then you can really understand, like, okay, this is not going the way that we wanted. We had, for example, an A/B test that was not going in the direction that we wanted. It was not fulfilling the metrics like we were expecting. So what we did, we started iterate on top of that A/B test. I don't know if that was the best decision because I think it gained a lot of tech complexity, but it was a fun way to say, like, okay, maybe we can try this, maybe we can turn this button into a link and see how will this affect. So we have all these kind of quick wins that we can have and we can explore, and I think that's super great. And I think A/B tests and experiments in our overall are super great way to validate and test the features and the ideas that your team has.
I heard, I think was the head of product of the head of growth of Duolingo, maybe. She was saying that if an experiment fails, it doesn't mean it's a bad experiment, because if it fails, if it modified the metrics in a bad way, it means that you find a crucial point of your application, of your flow,
Yeah.
that you know that you can't modify that in that matter because it will affect your
Yeah.
your metrics and your business. So yeah, because at some point I've worked with teams like, no, but they are super cautious to experiment with the product, but you have to experiment with the product to know what are the routes to increase your metrics and your
Yeah,
business at the end.
sure. And it also comes down to what we're saying about failing fast. And this is super important because you fail
Yeah.
fast and you can correct fast and you can move on to the next experiments. So, yeah, I think anyone that is against experiments, I don't know if product area is for them, to be
Yeah,
completely
totally.
honest.
Totally. But you know, I've heard people that are super conservative in starting the business or implementing
Yeah.
things in an application.
I, yeah, I think that also depends on the size of the company because that was also something I was seeing. Like, if you are a PM on a startup or a PM on a super large company, it's gonna be different. For example, the autonomy you're gonna have on the startups is way bigger, but the resources are not gonna be that much. And on a large company, you might have less autonomy, but you have more resources. And also, the risks can be a lot higher when you are in a large company. So that also needs to be taken into consideration. But I also think that there are ways to experiment, but controlling the risk. So, for example, when we are launching a new feature or something like that, we can have this safety control environment. So you can have like, let's launch for 3% of the base of users and see how they engage because that's already going to be a big number. Yeah, so I think that's, for example, one way that you can have more controlled risks on companies that cannot really afford experiment around.
Yeah, I think the last time we missed the discussion on how to properly experiment with the features of AI that we were developing.
Yes.
Okay, Caro. I want to jump to our last topic, and this is about your coaching initiative. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so whenever I have some free time, I like to start new projects. That's something that's very much my personality. And I actually started talking. There was this woman that reached out to me in LinkedIn. I didn't know her before, but she found my profile and she was like, "Oh, can you talk to me about product management and share your experience and how everything went?" And we had a conversation, and at the end, she was like, I loved the conversation. I think you should be a mentor because I had already lots of like mentorship conversations before and they were not that productive or as good as it was with you. So I was like, oh, I had never thought of that before. But I was like, well, that could be something interesting for me to explore. So I just started to think about it. I started to draft a little bit of like what's the structure would be looking like. And I had possible paths to choose, but the one I felt more excited about was having this mentorship program, especially for the people that want to migrate and start a career as a product manager, because that's something that I have already been through. So it happened to me. I had already to understand how could I do that by myself. And so the program, it starts talking about what is product management, what are the skills necessary, the key responsibilities and all that. But there's also more on this personal side because, like I was saying, all the PMs had already a previous career and experiences, and many of the skills and the abilities that they already having in their previous job, they could be applied for the product manager because it's also, like we were saying, it's very generalist. Many PMs come from different backgrounds, so everyone essentially can become a product manager. And that's what I wanted to do, like help people understand how can they use the skills that they already have on migrating the career. And there's also sessions about practicing and simulating HR interviews or product interviews, testing and product cases as well, just to make sure that the person is getting more comfortable around all that, assessing the skills, also making sure that she's aware of what are the areas that she could develop to be better in product management. So yeah, I just thought excited about this, and I already have some people interested on the program. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a go and see how it goes.
I think it's super interesting actually because I've come across people that they think the only way to enter tech jobs and this industry is by learning to code. And the first thing is maybe you don't have to. Maybe you have other skills. You can be a PM. You can be a I don't know, designer. You can be UX researcher. Things like that. So find what are the skills that you can transform that you already have and you can transform them to become one of the roles that are in the tech industry.
Yeah.
And I think that's super interesting of your proposal, and also that it's super personalized. I want to know, like, what are the mechanics of the process? Okay, I contacted you. What's the mechanic to start doing this?
Okay, so for anyone who's interested, I think it's important for us to have an initial conversation just to get to know each other and without attachment, just really like for me to explain more about the program and also give more information about my background and how it was for me and how's everything going in this over 4 years. And also for me to understand who is this person, in which area she's already working on and all that. And the idea of the program is 7 sessions of 1 hour each. And then, yeah, that's the idea to go over all these topics. But I think initially we would have this initial conversation. So anyone interested, please reach out and we can start talking. And also there is something that for the mentorship, I found a site, and I don't know who wrote this, but they were saying like there are 3 things that you kind of have to be to understand if you are really compatible with being a PM. And I found it interesting, like this 3 sentence that they quote. So I'm gonna say it to you. I think the first one is having an obsession with how things work. Just making sure like you are fully interested on understanding the structure behind and all that. The second is a need to understand customers because, like I was saying, the PM needs to be super close to the users and what's going on and what are their needs. And the third and last one would be a desire to help build things, innovate, and make an impact. And I think that's for me the biggest one. I think it kind of summarizes what a PM is really doing. We are just helping building things with a clear goal that we're also being responsible for helping set it out. So yeah, I think that for me is super great. And after I found out about the product area, I was like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Because I had no idea before. I joined the startup world in support, customer success role. So I was just helping clients and all that. And when I figured out that I could have this most impactful situation and a more impactful role on really deciding how is our product going to help the users, I was like, yes, let's do that. So yeah, I'm totally passionate about product.
Yeah, you are super. Okay, no, but how can we do it?
I'm very curious and I question a lot.
And I love it.
Well, sometime I had already received negative feedback before I was in product that I question things a lot.
Okay.
And I was like, what? I think that's a good thing. And you're saying that it's not a good thing? So I think that's also super important.
That doesn't talk well about about the company, like
Maybe it talked more about the role, because I think also that we can be trapped or we can be placed in roles that are not really fitting us and not really helping us show everything that we have to give and all the good things that we can have. So I think an important part is really understanding like, okay, this is my skill set, this is who I am, this is part of my personality. What is the job that I can use these skills at the most, like where can I make these skills really shine? And I was not in a position that they were shining. So thank God I found product.
You literally dress for the role that you wanted with questions.
Yes. Just a big question mark as a t-shirt. That's product.
Okay, Caro, and how can they contact you?
Yeah, I can share my email. I don't know here or in the podcast. Should I just say it here?
Yeah, you can say it, but maybe we can share it in the notes of the episode as well.
Yeah, okay. I think that's better. But yeah,
Yeah,
through
cool.
the email or LinkedIn as well. And I can
Okay,
share my profile.
I will put your links in the description of the episode. Feel free to contact Caro. She's an excellent PM. I love to work with her for the last year. I think we did like good things together, and we were good before doing amazing stuff. But yeah, Caro, thank you so much for being here. Thank you,
Thank you.
and I
Yeah.
hope we can continue discussing these things.
Yes, for sure. And eating good food. And also just wanted to say, like, I really enjoyed the opportunity of working with you. I think that ever since the beginning, you were one of the engineers that were really worried about the product side and really wanted to get insights about it and really understand, like, okay, what are we doing? For who are we doing that? And also the presentation skills that you have. You could be a PM. Seriously, because you have way better presentation skills than I do, and putting together PowerPoint and making these like dramatic pauses in presentations. I loved all that.
That's a hidden skill. I become a podcaster.
Yes, almost a designer as well.
I studied design, so I cheat a little
Okay.
bit.
So you are basically a 3-in-1. You are engineer, PM, and a designer. And you have a podcast. That's pretty cool.
You know, the whole package.
Yes.
Thank you, Caro. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please share the episode if you like it. Please bring the questions to our YouTube channel, to our Spotify channel. And see you in the next one. Bye-bye.